We are continuing to follow that breaking news. The AP reporting that U.S. defense officials say they're worried about an insider attack from service members involved in securing President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration. Is prompting the FBI to vet all of the 25,000 National Guard troops coming into Washington for the event.
For more on this, we're joined by former FBI Special Agent Phil Andrew. He has 21 years of experience with the Bureau. He's also the founder of PAX Group. Phil, thanks for jumping in here.
Glad to be with you guys tonight.
All right, your first thought as you read this AP article about the possibility of an insider problem when it comes to the inauguration and the security around that ceremony.
Well, the officials are clearly pulling out all the stops to make this safe. And because ex-military and some current and former law enforcement were involved in the original attack on the Capitol, they have to go through this extra step to make sure any service people that they're going to be relying on for the additional security don't provide any sort of insider risk. And by insider risk, we mean somebody that is trusted inside kind of the inner core that might be planning on betraying that trust and causing mayhem.
Now, Phil, we know that Army Secretary Ryan McCarthy has also said that so far he and other leaders have not seen any evidence of threats and said that the vetting so far has not flagged any issues. So why do you think this information is now being released? Because obviously it's going to take off quickly.
Well, I think they have to do this out of abundance of caution, and it's the right thing to do. This is going to be a secure space, and that everybody inside that space has to be properly vetted. And there's just no way of doing that without running these checks. Now, the checks basically are going to require them to submit the names, roughly the 25,000 troops that are going to be there, to the FBI to run them against databases. Those databases are going to reveal folks that may have been involved in prior investigations. But what it won't reveal is anybody that has not been caught or tied up in an investigation previously.
Phil, do you think that some of the concern here about this is based on the fact that we're seeing National Guard men and women come in from several different states across the country?
I think that is a piece of it, that folks coming in from different places, but everybody that joins the military goes through a basic background, but not the level of background check that would reach sort of national security, sort of secret clearance. And so that's where some of this comes from, and that their behavior, their involvement in other activities outside their service may have involved some investigation or touched on investigation. And the only way of knowing that for sure is to cross-reference them with FBI databases.
And again, this is coming from an AP article. Phil, can you talk about, in this same article, they talk about the fact that insider threats have really become a persistent law enforcement priority in the years after the September 11th attacks. Can you talk about that, why it's now much more of a priority?
Well, because of all the additional preparation and security measures that have gone into place since 9/11, it has required our enemies, those that present a public safety threat, to really kind of drive insidiously underground. And the greatest threat then would be somebody who maybe was encouraged or co-opted after they joined the military, or was encouraged to join the military, or get in law enforcement, specifically because they were recruited by one of these extremist organizations. That remains one of the domestic terrorists' specific objectives, is to recruit people in the military and law enforcement.
And Phil, as we get closer to Wednesday, more information continues to trickle out. How likely is it, do you think, that the actual swearing-in ceremony, which is currently planned to be outside, will end up moving inside?
Well, I think what we're seeing is officials are trying to do everything they can to do this in a way that preserves both the tradition and really the respect for the office and our peaceful transfer of power. So I think that both the administration coming in and the officials really want to show that America can do this, we can do this safe, that we're not giving in to these threats. But I think at some point there will be a decision whether that can they do this safe enough to continue to do it outside, and at a last minute they may move it indoors. That remains to be seen. But I think what we're seeing is officials telegraphing that they are taking every step. And that in a way also suggests to anybody planning something that they are really they're up to the challenge right now.
Phil, we don't want to instill fear here, but as the defense officials say, they're worried about an insider attack. They don't have credible threats that there is one there. Do you believe, in your expert opinion, that this is an effort to deter any violence that may break out, or is this an effort to just shore up the security?
Well, I think it's both. This is absolutely protocol. Again, if you're going to bring people inside the safe zone and you're going to rely on them specifically to be part of your protection and your response capability, they have to be fully vetted. And secondly, I think telegraphing that this is the posture that the Capitol, that the nation is taking, that the security officials and law enforcement are taking for this event, says that we are not messing around. This is not a time for chatter. This is not a time for idle threat. And that anybody that wants to call their bluff is going to be called to task.
All right, so Phil, I know that, this is happening Wednesday. We have so far 25,000 National Guard troops there in D.C., but let's look past Wednesday. What do you think this really means for the state of the country? How are we going to move forward? I mean, obviously, the president-elect, who will then be president, is going to have to move throughout the country, move throughout the world. What does this mean going forward?
Well, I'll tell you, for security professionals, for law enforcement, for folks in the FBI, the domestic terrorism threat has been real. And there are squads and offices and FBI agents working with local and federal partners to identify, infiltrate, and disrupt and indict and arrest and convict those folks involved in that kind of activity. That existed before this administration. It obviously was exacerbated during it. But that threat will remain for some time. And I think that from both a policy position and a law enforcement and a coordination position, this is going to be a threat, the number one threat to U.S. national security moving forward for the time being.
Phil, as we wrap this up, the FBI is saying that it is now prompting to vet the 25,000 National Guard members that are going to be in Washington, D.C. Has that already happened, and how long will it take? Can we get this done by Wednesday?
Well, it depends really on how those names are provided, but I would expect that those names can be provided in electronic format, and they can almost immediately be run against those databases. This is not a situation where you are clerks and operators and analysts are going to be hand entering these names. These are folks that are known to the National Guard. They're certainly known to the Department of Defense, and it's going to be very easy to fully identify these folks because we have social security numbers, we have date of birth, we have full names. These folks have been known to the military for some time.